Hey everyone, it's Carissa. Welcome to Satur-YAY, where we're celebrating the weekend by getting our craft on. I am so glad it is the weekend, trust me. So I thought we would talk a little bit about some pattern paper today, and I'm going to be using this pattern paper. This is some 6x6 pattern paper by Pink Fresh Studio. It is called the Life Noted Collection, and this pattern paper is super thick. If you are a paper snob like me and you like a good quality paper, then this is the pattern paper for you. It's got a nice weight and thickness to it. And I just thought I'd flip through the patterns here so that you get a good idea of kind of what's contained inside this pattern paper pad. And then I'm going to talk to you in just a bit about kind of how to mix and match some patterns on your card projects, or any kind of projects, I guess. So I'm also going to be using the Silver Linings die and these Infinity Heart dies from Hero Arts. I'm going to be using the Holiday Words dies. I'm going to be using that love on the bottom. And I've picked out my heart according to the size of those two Silver Lining dies kind of pushed together. So that's kind of how I did it. I'm going to be using the fourth from the largest. So if you count back from the biggest, it would be the fourth down, I guess. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now here I thought I'd bring in the papers that I've chosen to use. Now you're going to notice that I'm kind of going in rainbow order, and I mixed in some pattern papers to substitute for some of the solids here. So I have a couple of small scale patterns and I have a couple of large scale patterns. These two are my large scale patterns. If you look at them compared to these two on the ends, the pattern itself is just a little bit larger. So when you're mixing pattern papers, I do recommend that you kind of mix up the scales. Now I'm going to show you the difference here. This is what I would consider a small scale. Now when I bring this one in instead of that larger scale pattern paper, I'm kind of a little off balance here because I have 3 small patterns and 1 large pattern. And in order to bring balance, I thought I would bring in this larger paper for the blue. Now I actually liked the triangles better, but you could see also I was ending up with a ton of papers that had triangles on them. So I used the stripe to kind of mix up the type of pattern as well. So that's why I kind of chose the patterns that I chose. Now you can see here, once again, if I bring this in, instead of that small scale pattern, I have that's kind of a medium pattern, but I would consider it on the larger scale. So I didn't want to get too lopsided on the large scale, and I didn't want to get too lopsided on the small scale. And I also kind of wanted to mix up the patterns a bit. So I had some triangles, something that was a little linear. And so that's kind of how I made the decisions for the pattern papers that I chose for this project. Now I'm going to start cutting here, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about these pattern papers as I cut here. Now, when choosing pattern papers, I would say that generally speaking, when you choose pattern papers that are within a paper pad or within a paper collection, you are always going to be okay as far as colors are concerned, because these pattern paper packs have been put together by a designer who knows a little something about not only scale and pattern, but also color too. So if you stay within kind of that one collection of pattern paper, your colors are going to go together as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you are brave enough to venture outside of that pattern paper pad that you're using, then just keep in mind that you may want to look for similar colors within other paper collections. So now I have this beautiful rainbow of pattern papers as well as colored cardstocks. I'm going to start assembling a piece that I can kind of piece together, paper piece together, to create a really fun kind of ray effect heart here. Now, I am using just some regular computer paper here. I've cut it down to about the size of 2 of those silver lining dies pushed together, and I'm going to start assembling this. I've covered that entire piece of typing or computer paper with some tape runner adhesive. Now, I could have also used some stick-it adhesive on the back of each one of these silver linings dies, but I don't think I thought of that. So tape runner adhesive it is. You know, sometimes plan B works out okay anyway. So now I'm going to just get started, and I'm going to work my way around through this rainbow of pattern papers and solid cardstocks, and I'm going to just start assembling these together. So I used the first one from that red kind of pattern paper, and then I've used the second little sliver from the pink, and then I'm going to move on to orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, that gray pattern, and then I'm going to finish off with the wood grain. So I just kind of wanted to show you this as I kind of move throughout this, and then I am left with this really cool piece that I can then die cut my heart from. Now, I did want to mention I did not come up with this idea all on my own. It was very much inspired by a card, or several cards actually, that were created by Jennifer McGuire. And I'm going to be sure that I link that video and that blog post in the description here at YouTube, as well as over at the Classroom blog. So be sure to check that out because she has some amazing ideas. She even used the silver lining die with some felt and put some of those clouds together. She did a beautiful job, and I just wanted to give credit where credit was due, and she did give me permission to go ahead and use this as inspiration for my project today. So now I am going to use that infinity heart die from Hero Arts. I'm going to cut right out of the center of that and cut this heart here. So I'm left with this super colorful heart. This kind of reminds me of something very like 70s. I don't know why, but kind of that rainbow with the wood grain. I just love the way this turned out. And I thought that that other negative space would make a really cool card as well. So I'm going to put that together. Now for the background for this more solid heart, I decided I wanted kind of a watercolor look, and I decided to use the Sea Breeze Spectrum Noir sparkle pen to create that. And I've smeared or, just kind of dropped or scribbled color all over this Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and then I heavily spritzed it with some water to get that color moving. And then I went in and dropped in some more of that Sea Breeze. Now, I hit it with a heat tool, and when this dried, I thought it was a little too intense. So I'm going to just fix that by spraying on some more water pretty heavily, and then picking some of that color up with a clean cloth or a paper towel. Now, I have to admit, at first I did not use a clean cloth that had ink all over it, and I transferred ink to that watercolor piece, but I was able to save it in the end, so it's all good. Now I'm just going to start assembling this now that I have my background kind of watercolored there. I put a little real wood heart there that I die cut from those Hero Arts Infinity dies right where all of those rays kind of meet up, and I put that on top of that heart using some foam adhesive. I've kind of double layered my sentiment here. That love is in the glitter on the front and then some sugar wafer cardstock on the back to create kind of a shadow. And I decided that this background piece needed just a bit of stitching around the edge. So I ran it through my die cut machine using the largest stitched rectangle die from the large collection from Lawn Fawn. So yeah, largest of the large. And that didn't cut my paper any smaller. It's an A2 size die. It just added the stitching around the edge for me. So now I'm just finishing up the assembly here. I've put some foam adhesive on the back of that heart. I've also put foam adhesive on the back of my sentiment there. I put a single layer on that left side and then a double layer on the right side where it kind of hangs off of the heart. And I finished off my sentiment using a little Dymo label maker. I just thought it kind of fit with that retro feel of this card. And so I thought that was a fun touch. Now, I did finish off the card with a little bit of sparkle and shine because you know me and I cannot resist my sparkle and shine. So I added some sparkling clear sequins, and I also coated that wood heart with a layer, or actually 2 layers of glossy accents. I put a layer on, allowed it to dry, and then added a second layer. Now for this other card, I'm going to use that negative space. I trimmed it down just a little bit because my edge was a little bit lopsided on one piece. And I'm going to add some of this grid pattern paper behind where this is going to sit on my card front. And in order to line that up straight, I went ahead and used my T-square ruler to kind of butt the paper up against that T-square ruler so I got it straight onto the card front. And then I'm going to adhere this kind of negative space piece onto my card front using some foam adhesive. And I thought this was just a fun way to kind of use the leftovers to create another card and have a couple of cards on hand. Now keep in mind, when I created that ray piece, I only used one piece from each of those colors. So I have all of those colors left over. I can piece together, I think, 8 more of these and create lots of cards just from the die cutting that I did for these 2 cards here. So when you do that and you put these together, you can make tons and tons of cards. Now, I finished off that second card with a few little glitter die cut hearts. I used the smallest of the Hero Arts Infinity heart dies that I used to kind of die cut those and place them on there with some sequins as well. And that finishes off my couple of card projects for today. And I hope you enjoyed a look into kind of how I choose pattern papers that work together for a card project or other projects that you might be working on. As always, I will have links to all the featured products in the description at YouTube, but head on over to the Classroom blog, which I'll link below, because I will have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies over there. All of these products are available for purchase at ellenhudson.com. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed these really fun, funky, and colorful kind of retro-inspired projects. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.